Practitioner. I run a full-time witchcraft business. I'm 24 years old and I live in California and I'm planning on moving abroad. I like Legos, I like animals, I like being outside in nature. I love doing tarot readings in my hot tub. Sometimes I have a drink or two, sometimes I'm just meditating. Some days I'm just laying in my bed watching South Park, like, I'm a human being, you know?
Yes, I love that. I actually didn't ask your last name. I'm so sorry.
That's kind of a funny story. My last name technically is Belle, but I just use it as a first name. I actually grew up in a Christian cult. This is really tiny cult. It only had about like 20 members, and they believed you had to become a member of the church in order to go to heaven. And I would have to like read the Bible every single day, memorize the Bible every single day after school for like hours and hours. You had to do like a bunch of service to get it. My dad's like an atheist, so my dad never wanted to go. My mom is like super overly religious, and I eventually convinced them to like switch over to like non-denominational church, which is like a lot more chill and cool, but I still was like, I feel just so disconnected. So for a couple of years as like a teenager, I was like, I don't think there's anything. I still identified as a Christian because I felt like a lot of guilt and a lot of like fear. Like I kind of hadn't unpacked a lot of like my Christian identity. So I was like, yeah, I'm Christian, but I don't live like a Christian. I don't really like practice this. I don't like being in a church. Like this doesn't feel aligned with me. I was overly Christian. I actually know the Bible like the back of my hand now.
How old were you? Like, how many years did you do that?
I think it was until I was like 12.
I relate to that a little bit because high school years, where you're sort of starting to form your own thoughts and brain. I, like you, realized I don't believe in it. I didn't want to like, fully let it go because inside me, I was like, but I still believe in something. And if I let that go and call myself like truly an atheist, like, or at least really fully let it go, like detached, it just, that also didn't feel right to me. I was kind of battling, like just identifying all of that. And then I realized like maybe I shouldn't identify anything. For me, it just felt like a push and pull.
So hard when you grow up in a church because you're being told from like a very young age when you're like very maladaptable that like you're a bad person and only Jesus can save you, and without it you're gonna go to eternal suffering. Like that's a lot for someone to process at like 5 years old. Like I'm learning how to like speak, I'm learning colors, and then I'm told from like day one that I'm worthless without this. To me, it's similar with like Santa Claus, where it felt like I'm always being watched, everything I'm doing, even my thoughts. Like anytime I would question my religion, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm being bad. I'm going to go to hell. I'm going to go to hell for questioning this. Like you think something bad about the religion, and then it's like, oh, something bad is going to happen in your life. And a lot of people end up growing with really bad OCD, really bad anxiety, depression. There's a lot of mental health issues, honestly, that I still work through. I think there's still some stuff from my Christian upbringing that I still have to like unpack, because I think growing up that way, it's so bad for your self-esteem to be told like you're worthless, like you're a bad person. You're like, I'm gay.
Literally belittles you, and you're forming your sense of self, so automatically you're forming a sense of self built on shame. It's so crazy. As a little child, I think we all can agree that organized religion at a young age can lead to like depression, anxiety. I was gonna add like paranoia in there. You're thinking like 24/7, am I a bad person for doing this? Was I right for doing that? It's almost a little ridiculous sometimes how much shame there is into it. You'll be doing the simplest thing and you'll think, I was bad for doing that. I was bad for choosing me in that situation.
Eventually got my family to switch over to like a non-denominational church, and then I kind of liked that for like a year. Like it felt better because they were a bit more normal. They were a bit more like, hey, we actually allow gay people to be in our church. They were more accepting, but it just didn't feel like the best fit for me. And so then I just didn't go to church for pretty much most of my teenage years because I was like, I just don't feel like being here. The air feels stuffy. I don't like the fact that I can't ask a lot of questions. I'm a very naturally inquisitive person. I don't feel like being in a Christian church is a good place for you to be when you're very inquisitive, because you're supposed to not question things. But I'm like, this doesn't make sense and this doesn't make sense. And the fact that I read the entire Bible, I'm like, this story doesn't make sense. This isn't logical. But I kind of was like, I feel bad for questioning that. So I'm just going to shove that deep down. I'm just going to not address that. You didn't end up walking away from Christianity until I was around like 19 or 20. And then I started with like manifestation and tarot. I feel like that's what most people start with. I dated this girl when I was like 19, and this was when I was living on my own. I was living in an apartment. And it was like a really toxic living environment. I was dating this girl, and it was kind of like my escape. And I remember a week before we had broken up, I kept thinking to myself, she's going to break up with me. She's going to break up with me. She's going to break up with me. And a week goes by and she breaks up with me. So it kind of was like this moment of me where I was like, did I manifest this? He taught me about manifestation. And so I was like, maybe she's on to something with this manifestation. Like, I think when she first brought it up to me, I was like, not closed off to it, but I was like, I don't know. This sounds a little weird. Like, I don't know. But then after that, I was like, holy shit, maybe I did. So I was like, if I can manifest something negative, maybe I can manifest something positive. And I started just like learning manifestation. I started working with this like sales company. And I think the biggest turning point for me was 1 week or a few days into me working for this company. We were raising money for nonprofits. And we have to get enough money for our commissions because it was only commission based. I have to hit this goal in order to go home. And I was like, I really just want to go home. So I sat there with some incense from Dollar Tree, a rose quartz, and I just manifested and I was like, please just give me enough money to go home. And this lady ends up walking to the table and she's like, I don't know why, but I feel so called. I'm going to donate $5,000 to you guys. Which is like way over the goal. Like we're trying to make like $700 total. So she donated that. So I was like, oh, and that was like 10 minutes after I manifested. So I was like, okay, this has a kick.
10 minutes later is crazy. And $5,000?
Yeah. No, it was like instantaneous and it was crazy. Before I had like manifestations kind of come true, but they were like little stuff that I was able to like logically be like, maybe a coincidence. That happened and I was like, there's no way. I was like, all right.
Spirit was like, girl, you need proof?
The lady who came up to the table was like, I never come here. Like, I usually go to a different post office. For some reason, I felt like I needed to come to this post office today. Me and my husband talked earlier today about how we wanted to donate a bunch of money this year to something because we donate every year. And your booth happened to be the first one I came across. I just felt really called to it. So I was like, okay, this is not a coincidence. I started locking in and I actually became like a top salesperson at this company. People were really mean to me at this company just because like I'm pretty eccentric and like just pretty out there. I didn't like fit in with the culture very well, but I just started doing my own thing and avoiding them, and they started noticing like, holy crap, she's outranking us. And so they would come to me and they'd be like, can you give me advice? Like, what do I do? And I'm like, all right, you're gonna turn to this frequency. You're gonna find this HZ on YouTube. You're gonna blast it. Every full moon, you're gonna go out with this incense. I did the whole thing where I would have crystals every day set on my table in a specific way. I would meditate every single day. I would manifest every single day. Like, I wasn't grounding, which that hit me in the ass, but I was really locked into it and eventually moved to California because they were like, okay, you're a top salesman. We want to move you to open this new branch. And I was like, all right, universe, show me a feather if I should move. And then I saw like a bunch of feathers, but I was like, okay, feathers too obvious. Show me a woman come up and donate in a blue raincoat. Because it wasn't raining that day. And this lady comes up, I'm not even making this up, in a blue raincoat and donated. And I was like, okay, I'll move.
The biggest freaking sign, and not you having your entire department with crystals and under full moon doing yoga. Like, you really had everyone on their toes.
The people who actually took my advice, a lot of them were like, yo, you're a witch. They're like, this fucking works. I actually made like so much more money just playing this frequency sound. I was like, yeah, like, yeah. I just decided one day to get into witchcraft. I was like, I just want to start working with Aphrodite. So I just started working with Aphrodite. I kind of saw a lot of signs. It felt like she was reaching out to me. So I started working with Aphrodite and Loki. I would make like the little spell jars, do tarot and stuff like that. And then I was like, okay, I want to do my own business. I worked 4 different jobs until I was able to like get my business off the ground. It took about, I want to say, a year until I started getting my business off the ground and started actually making money. But once I started like making money, it kind of started rolling in and I was able to go from part-time to full-time.
I love hearing stories where people sort of just like take their dreams and like turn them into reality. So I love that. And I'm really glad you decided to like work for yourself. It's funny that you mentioned Aphrodite because I have always resonated with Athena. How long have you been doing that? Like, what, since you first started?
It's been about like 5 years of like spiritual practice, but 4 years of like witchcraft practice. Walked in and I went really hard because I was like, I want to make this into a business. I need to learn how to like properly read tarot. I need to really
Hmm.
like sit in and learn it. So I spent like 6 to 8 months just learning everything I could about tarot. It started off as like a tarot business, and then I did like healing spells, action spells, and then so many people were asking me for love spells. I eventually was like, all right, I'll try it. I offered them for like $20 to people. And I was like, I'm brand new. And they're like, it's cool. I trust you. But a lot of them did land. So I started offering that as a service. And then I got into baneful work. I call myself Baneful Belle. Baneful work is the terminology that people use because white versus black magic has like a lot of racial connotations and just
Hmm.
like it's like really problematic language. So instead I use the terminology beneficial magic versus baneful magic. So beneficial is like road openers, healing, protection, stuff like that. Oh, and then we have love magic. I don't really put that in either category because it can be baneful, it can be beneficial. It depends on how you use it. And baneful magic is just like hexes, forced healing, just anything that's like gonna cause harm essentially would fall under like the baneful category.
I've always agreed with that. I don't like those terms. I just feel like it makes a certain group of people look negative or their practices negative.
Terminology black magic originally referred to voodoo. Black magic is evil. Nah, you're just saying it's evil because it's practiced by black people.
Yeah,
That was literally what it was. Then it
right.
was like white magic was like Wiccan. That's primarily practiced by white people. It was like a whole thing where it's like it has racist connotations. I don't think a lot of the people who use the terminology necessarily know that, but it is something that I try to like educate people on because I would never want to use because of the history behind it. I don't want to put that as a part of my practice, if that kind of makes sense. When I was like 3 years old, my grandma died, and my parents would come in the room all the time and they'd be like, who are you talking to? And I'd be like, Grandma. Like, I would write her notes, put them in balloons, and like send them up. And I was just always talking to Grandma. I would talk to her like through a candle. When I was like a teenager, I started like playing with Ouija boards with like friends and stuff like that. Like, I followed the rules, but like definitely I was a little bit unsafe with it. I'll definitely will say I'm not necessarily recommending that other people do that. I don't think the Ouija board is like a scary thing, but I think like it is a serious tool. You need to learn how to like seriously and properly like vet spirits whenever you're using a Ouija board, whatever you're using to communicate with spirits. You
Yeah.
know, do your research before doing that. But whenever I do the Ouija board with my friends as a teenager, usually they'd be like, okay, we want Belle to be the main kind of person to facilitate it because the spirits really seem to be active with you. And a lot of the times I could feel like the spirits be like, I want to talk to you separately. So I would go home and then I would talk to them through a candle. I would have like one flicker be yes, two flickers be no, and I would just talk to spirits. And this was before I knew about spirituality, witchcraft, and then later on now as a witch, and now that I've been developing and learning about that stuff, I'm like, oh my god, I was practicing witchcraft when I was like a kid. I can connect with spirits really easily. I think the most difficult part for me was learning how to set boundaries with spirits, because I think it's hard for me to set boundaries with people in general. I think if you are a people pleaser, you need to learn how to set boundaries with people before you start working with spirits, because
That's where I'm at.
you should not be talking to spirits until you learn how to set boundaries, because spirits are going to trample over your boundaries and you're going to put yourself in a sticky situation.
I sometimes have to put boundaries with even my own spirit team. I consider myself like a channeler, so I open it up. I'm practicing, so I open it up. I go one at a time, please, because you all bombard me. I'm hearing stuff. I'm seeing everything, and it doesn't make any sense. That's when I realized I don't think that they mean to, but they do kind of like they do kind of throw a lot at you sometimes.
It's your journey, it's your
Hmm.
path. You should be able to set those boundaries. And I think like the fear of like not wanting to set boundaries with the spirit guides, I think actually comes from the Christianity that gets pushed on a lot of people at a young
Yeah,
age, where it's that feeling again of like, I shouldn't be questioning this omnipotent being. But no, actually, you should question everything. You
everything.
should question everything. And
Yeah.
if a spirit, a deity, a god has a problem with you questioning them, I would reconsider why you want to have a relationship with them. You should be able to question and ask, okay, why? You know, you might not get the answer you want. The answer might be, I don't have an answer for you, but you shouldn't be afraid to ask your deities questions. If you feel that way for spirit, they're probably not a good spirit for you to be working with
Absolutely.
personally.
And I'm glad that we're talking about this because maybe others can also learn from this too, as I'm learning from you. I guess with the manifesting then, that really changed, at least in the beginning. Like that is what started a little like seed in you.
It completely changed my life. My mental health got a lot better. You know, I used to like smoke, drink constantly. I had to always be on something to function. And like, for one, I think moving out of my toxic household, I started like kind of walking away from that a little bit, but definitely with spirituality, I was like, I don't feel the need to be numb 24/7. I actually want to like be here, and I actually want to feel emotions, and I actually want to experience life. And so I really do say, like, I'm like, no, spirituality like saved my life. I genuinely do not think I would be here without spirituality. I don't mean that in like a cheesy way. I'm like, no, I stand on that. Like, I think that it genuinely saved my life.
Genuinely same. It's made me want to be here. I would have not wanted to be here. Absolutely not. I love that you said that. It's not dramatic at all. It's real.
Yeah.
It's real as heck. Do you recall another time where you were like, wow, that was a sign?
I started working with Hecate about 2 years ago. This was when I was getting more into baneful work. My past abuser was like still bothering me, reaching out to me, and my friend was like, you need to do cord cutting. And I was like, I've never done one before. She was like, work with Hecate, talk to Hecate, she can help you out. And so I was like, okay, maybe Hecate wants to reach out to me, give me a sign. That night, this was at the time I was living with my boyfriend, or well, we're exes now, and he goes out of town for a trip. So I'm home alone. I hear this banging on the window. It's like 2 or 3 a.m. I'm just hearing this banging. I'm terrified. I'm like, someone's trying to break in. Like, I'm cooked. I eventually work up the courage and I go to the window. It's this cat just throwing itself against the window over and over and over until it sees me, it looks at me, and it walks away. The next day I did the cord cutting. The cat came back, did it again. Never once seen the cat again. That cat lived in the neighborhood apparently because the cat had a collar. I went outside. The cat was friendly. It came up to me. I ended up like calling its owner, and it's like, oh yeah, it's outside all the time. You can let it be. I kid you not, never saw that cat again. Never saw that cat again. So it was just so freaky. And that baneful cord cutting did land and ended up working, and it was crazy too because I hexed my abuser. I waited a couple of months and he still reached out to me, and I was like, what's wrong? And my friend was like, you just need to cord cut because he's still benefiting from your energy, essentially. So I did the baneful cord cutting. He ended up falling off of a 3-story building at 3 in the morning and shattering 3 parts of his spine.
He was tethered to your energy and he was getting protection through you. But the minute that you cut that, that's what happens usually when you cut people off.
I set the hex where I was like, all of the pain and suffering that he causes to other people, I want to hit him times 3. So when like all of this happened with the synchronicities, with the 3s, I was like, all right.
I think you amplified it by the 3 times, the whatever.
For a long time, I was like, I don't know if I want to hex. I had a friend reach out to me and was like, hey, he cornered me in a bathroom and he tried to grape me. And some other women came forward to me and were like, hey, what happened to you also happened to me. And so I was like, I feel like this is the right thing to do because he can't get away with treating people like this. And the justice system isn't doing anything about these kinds of people. If you look up the statistics, only 5% get incarcerated. 5% of perpetrators. I was like, I need to do something. It's never personal or petty or like, oh, they hurt my feelings, so I'm going to go after them. No, they're genuinely going out and causing harm, and what they're doing to me, they're doing to other people, and they're going to continue doing. I think it's more justified and righteous for me to take action than to stand by. What if their karma for what they did was getting hexed? And having that happen to them. Their karma is what ended up happening to them. Could have been used as a tool or a vessel to deliver karma. Like, that's kind of how I view it personally.
Girl, you too real for that.
I'm not gonna sit around and watch someone fucking around.
I'm very girls as well, so like that would have not flown by. But during your like your awakening process, did you face any challenges in letting something go, either outdated beliefs or a habit that sort of was stopping you from embodying your truest next best self, you know, your highest
relationships. I was actually dating someone who for the longest time, for about a year, And my guides were like, and I knew it wasn't even my guides, it was me. I knew low key that he was not being honest with me. I knew he was not a good fit for me. I was not getting treated properly, but I just like I loved this person so much more than I loved myself. At the end of the being, like I just loved him with my entire soul and being. I felt really connected to him, and I just like kept ignoring everything as a result. And I ended up asking Aphrodite. I was like, all right, just give me a sign if he's the right fit. And this is crazy. Buckle in for this. He ended up passing away. He got schmurdered. And he got schmurdered while he was cheating on me in my dad's hometown. And then I found out when he died that he was cheating on me with like 19 other women. And one of them he had a baby with, and he was hiding a baby from me.
Okay, double life, double life. I was trying to see where this was going, and it was not that. Girl, that could be a movie.
It was
Call
my
Netflix
12th
right now.
house year, which like, do you know astrology and like 12th house? Yeah,
Yes.
I finished my 12th house year last year. So now I'm in my first house year.
Age 23.
That was 24, or yeah, I was 23. Yeah.
Can you explain to people like what the 12th house year is? Give a little rundown.
All about endings. And it is about death, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna have someone actually die. But it's about like death so that you can have rebirth, essentially. So
Mm-hmm.
any friends, a lot of change. So in my 12th house year, I ended up moving twice. I moved from Reno. I lived in Vegas for literally a month, and that was the worst experience. I will never live in Vegas. Great to visit, not a great place to live. I had like multiple near death experiences. I lost, I want to say, like 6 different friends. I ended up having to cut off, and then I ended up moving to California. And so it's just like you just shed a bunch of dead skin during your 12th house year. So you're losing a bunch of stuff. It's like a huge tower moment, but it's, I think when people hear this, they're like scared of it, and they're like, I'm so scared of my 12th house year. And I'm like, genuinely, everything I lost, yeah, it was a loss. Yeah, it sucked, but it was all holding me back. I was supposed to lose it, and I would have lost it one way or another. So you'll just go through extreme change. It's your 12th house year is honestly just like a huge tower moment. It's like you're wearing an entire dress of Moldavite and carrying around the tower card. Okay, you're gonna have everything and anything that's not meant for you completely fall apart. And then for your first house year, because after that you go into your first house year, and that's just about starting anew, starting fresh. So now I'm in my first house year. When I started in a new state, I started a new business during my first house year. I let go of a lot of bad habits, got into like a lot of my past self, like my teenage self, kind of came out during that year as well too, and I had to like relearn a lot of those skills and stuff like that. I really, your 12th house year, you die. You basically die so a new version of you can rise. So it's like kind of like a phoenix from the ashes kind of moment. You
Yes.
become an adult. I feel like I'm starting to become an adult now, but I still don't feel like an adult sometimes. Like I
I
still
don't
feel like high
either.
school is yesterday.
Like you might be, and same with me, we might be maybe like getting the routines down easier as, of the adults and stuff, but internally you're still the kid that you always were.
Internally, yeah, and
Yeah.
I do feel like that's part of your is reconnecting with like your
Hmm.
younger self. Like I kind of saw this like quote the other day that was just like, your early 20s are about like reconnecting with your younger kid and realizing that they were cool as shit. And I was like, yeah, like
Going back to what
you're
you used to love. Like I'm going back to what I used to love. It's so interesting.
I got back into Legos, so now I like build Legos and stuff in my free time, and because I was obsessed with that as a kid, and then as a teenager, you're like, oh, I don't want to do anything that's children involved. And then I started collecting Squishmallows and playing with Legos when I was like in my early 20s, and I was like, have fun, like it's okay to be childish sometimes.
Was there a time ever growing up where you felt like outcasted, you were discriminated against, or just looked down upon because of who you
my
were?
my entire childhood I was the weird kid. I grew up in like a bad household, and I was getting bullied at school. I think when I was in high school, I tried so hard to be normal. I was friends with like these like popular kids, and they would bully me every single day, but I would still hang out with them and be friends with them because I cared so much about my image and wanting to maintain that status quo. And I dressed and did my makeup and acted and was interested in stuff that wasn't me at all. And like I completely lost my identity, and it really messed me up. I was like so uncomfortable with who I was as a person. It was a really big step for me when I was 19 to be like, I don't care about any of this. I don't care. I don't need people to like me. Like, I think I realized at 19, not everyone's going to like you, and that's okay. You don't want everyone to like you.
Yeah.
If people don't like you, you're doing something right. Because
Yeah.
you're doing something different.
And it's impossible to have everyone like you anyways.
No. There's not a single celebrity, there's not a single person that's doing something amazing or big with their life that doesn't have a group of people that hates them. And that's just it, period.
Yeah, you're always gonna have criticism. It's duality, really, when you think about it.
I'm on my collaboration era this year. So I'm collaborating with as many people in the community as I can because I'm genuinely like, I don't think we need to work against each other. I don't think we need to view each other as competition. I think we can actually help each other and build something really beautiful.
That's amazing, and I'm so glad that you are doing that because it's so true. We need to get rid of these jealousy manipulation codes here in the collective. Seems like you're doing that.
Is not necessary. I will have jealousy. I'm human. Sometimes I will feel a little bit, ugh, why is this person doing better than me? But then I
Mhm.
just look and I think, okay, what are they doing where they're having more success? How can I apply that to my own life and
Mhm.
implement that? Use it as a learning tool instead of just like
Mhm.
spewing envy because you can use that energy for yourself. It's better than just giving that energy off to someone else.
Absolutely. You're giving it away at that point, making them more successful than
If
that's
there's
funny.
no point.
You had mentioned that you had trouble with the grounding. Do you have any spiritual practices that help you with grounding? And
I think caring about your mental health and putting your physical and mental health first is one of the best things that you can do for that, for sure. An exercise that I do to kind of like ground myself is called a body scan. It's actually like a DBT skill, but people have like implemented it in the spiritual community. But basically, you just start from your head and you just like fully scan down your body and you just notice like, okay, how is my head feeling? Does it feel tense at all? Do I feel any pain? And then you move down to your neck. Does my neck feel tense? Relax. If you feel a little bit tense, you can kind of relax your shoulders a bit. But it's basically an exercise where you just start from your head all the way to the bottom of your toes. Just how's my body feeling? And just by doing that, you're going to feel a lot more just kind of like in your body, if that kind of makes sense. Because I think with spirituality, it's really easy to get out of your body. Grounded is like out of your body. Grounded is you're in your body, you're in tune with your body.
a lot of people on this journey, they end up, in the wards because they do not have the tools, the resources to help them. Honestly, this needs to be talked about more. I feel like the spiritual community doesn't really talk about it, or spiritual psychosis is put in such a negative light. But the reality is, it happens to a lot of us. It really does. I think instead of criticizing people experiencing like the worst thing that they could possibly experience, we shouldn't be criticizing. We should be preventing. Hey, grounding, 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 like that. I like
Yeah.
preach that. Grounding, grounding, please.
I agree. Like, did you see the situation with that girl who fell in love with her like therapist and she was like,
Yeah,
she's trying to manifest him and everyone was making jokes on the internet. And I'm like, okay, so we're going to take depression seriously, but the second someone's showing signs of like genuine
it's
psychosis, we're going to go and make
psychosis.
jokes about her. Like, I made a post and I was like, this isn't funny. Like, this is literally what happens when you decide to put like spirituality and a man before your mental health. Your mental health should be your number one priority. If it is not, like, you can also end up in situations like this. You think it'll never happen to you until it starts happening to you. And
Yes.
criticizing, making jokes, you're actually just feeding this and you're actually going to make this worse with this person. We should look at this as this person needs genuine help. This isn't a funny topic. This isn't hee hee ha. This is a real life situation.
I'm so glad you talked about it. I thought it was so disgusting to see people in the spiritual community claim that they are, not speak up on it or just comment stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, like, guys, like, she's
I'm
going through
joking
it.
about it, and I'm
Yeah.
like, bro, I get it, because I could have sat there and made a funny joke, but at the end of the day, it's something that, like, nah, dude, we need to have a serious conversation about this because this is happening more and more in the community. I was a better practitioner when I learned to ground, and I took a break. I took a break from spirituality for a bit and focused on my mental health, and it's the best thing I could have ever done for myself, and it made me a better practitioner. If you're worried about, well, what if I don't manifest or meditate every day? If it's having a negative impact on you, stop doing it. It's okay. You can take a break. I promise you, it's gonna be okay.
Is there anyone that you helped along the way, or people that sort of guided you or you guided them?
Honestly, even getting broken up with Like having that experience actually put me in the right direction, you know? There's so many people in my life who I have friends who are not spiritual who still benefit me and have helped push me in the right direction. You know, I think it's like very important to be open-minded and to kind of try and learn from like everyone's experience, because I think you can learn a lot not only about yourself but just about like the world around you, because everyone has a different experience, everyone has a different opinion. I think it's important to like hold space for all of that. I learned a lot honestly through people on TikTok, through researching. I also did have a mentor, and that's who like I run the business with. She's been practicing witchcraft for over 20 years. She definitely pointed me in the right direction, and we both have helped each other. I was really, really lonely at the beginning of my spiritual journey. It was very, very lonely.
Every time I ask someone that, they're like, "Yep, I felt so alone." Like it's like just a common.
It's a pretty universal experience where you're going to lose a
Yeah.
lot of people. A lot of people are going to think you're crazy. A lot of people aren't going to want to connect.
If you could give advice to newly awakened individuals, like what would you tell them?
Learn how to protect yourself.
Mm.
Learn protection magic first and I think you should start with manifesting and meditation. Start with the basics and you can grow a little bit from there. You should really be learning the basics and the foundations first before you do anything. You're going to be curious. You're going to make mistakes. I think that that's normal. I really would advise learning how to cleanse yourself and learning how to protect yourself, because then when you do make a mistake, at least you can know how to like somewhat undo it. And reach out to people. There's a lot of people in the community that are helpful. There's a lot of people who also offer free advice. There's a lot of people who do free tutorials. So, you know, and just research. My mentor researched witchcraft for like 5 years before she even started practicing it herself, you know, and she's one of the best practitioners I know. I'm not necessarily saying you have to do that, but you should be researching everything and you should be questioning everything. And it's going to be normal. You might feel like, okay, this is the right fit for me. And then later on, you might feel like, okay, this is a better fit for me. That's really natural. That's really normal. You're going to grow and your craft's going to grow and your craft's going to change. It's okay. You want to be like open to change.
So I kind of wanted to know what you thought of duality. What do you think it is? Like, what's the purpose of having that here?
You can't appreciate the light without the dark, you know? You wouldn't be able to see the moon without the night. At the end of the day, not every day is going to be a good day. And I think that that's okay because it really highlights your good days and it makes those good days that much more good. It makes them that much more tangible. Like when you experience something bad, it's like, I don't like to say that bad things happen for a reason, because I really don't like saying that, because there's stuff that happens and sometimes the reason is just because other people suck and you didn't deserve that and there's not a lesson to it and the universe didn't put you through that. Something horrible happened to you and it should have never happened to you. Point blank, period. But sometimes you can look at that negative thing that happened to you and you can get something positive out of it. It's just a very gray area topic because I'm like, you can't really apply it to everything. When we're saying like bad things happen to you, that's like such a range of things. That can go from stubbing your toe to having a life debilitating illness, you know? So it's like there's a gray area, and I don't want to be like, you got cancer because it's like a sign and you need to learn from it and be grateful for it. Because no, it's okay. That sucks. I'm so sorry you're going through that. There probably isn't a reason that you're going through that. You didn't deserve that. You didn't do something in your past life to deserve that. I hate that kind of negative talk that I feel like people have a bit, because sometimes bad things just happen because that's just life. But at least for me personally, all the negative things that have happened to me have led to something either positive or have added to like who I am as a person. And so I personally like to show gratitude for everything that's happened to me in my life. Not gratitude towards some of the people that inflicted it necessarily, but gratitude towards myself for being able to handle that and being able to turn that into something beautiful.
You have to be able to turn that, like the ugly, the negative, into something beautiful, because maybe what happened to you, it wasn't for a reason, but you almost have to give it a reason.
You still got to play the game, and that's just that.
That's very like specific to like, the individual. I've noticed. What the reason why one person got cancer won't be the reason why this one did, which is very odd considering that science looks at everything just very like. Yeah, I think that's what's so good about spirituality, that it's like open to interpretation about you, about your own life. If
That's something for you to figure out for yourself. There's not rules to this. Do your own thing. Like, that's
yes,
the beauty of it, is there's not rules. We're not in a church. This isn't a congregation. I'm not going to tell someone how to live their life. A lot of people don't like that because If I tell them, no, you can't do that, guess what? They're just gonna go to another witch that's gonna do it for them. Honest with me, so I know what's going on, and so I can do a little bit of harm reduction. And I would rather them be honest with me and tell me, yeah, this person's really toxic. As long as they're not, like, putting themselves in danger, what decisions you want to make, if it's not endangering you or other people, yeah, girl, let's do it.
It's better them doing it with you than going somewhere else where that person might not have the morals that you do. They're not going to care if this person's going to harm themselves, go back to an abuser or something like that.
At the end of the day, being told this person's bad for you, you need to leave, that's not going to make someone leave. They have to make that decision on their own. I'll tell them, if you ask me, I'll say, yeah, this is a toxic situation. I personally wouldn't stand for it. But I'm not going to tell you that you have to leave, because you don't. At the end of the day, you don't have to do anything.
We have free will.
Like, this is your choice. This is your choice. I'm here to help you make decisions for yourself. I want them to just do what they feel called to do. At the end of the day, you know that relationship better than I do. It's your relationship. It's your life. I'm just here to help. I like my clients that are real, raw, and honest, and maybe a little messy. I love them. They make my day, honestly.
Let your messiness out, because it makes people feel less alone, right? They're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Okay. When you meet someone that's perfect, it makes you look at all your insecurities, and it's like an automatic, like, poof.
Even a person that you look up to on social media and you go, damn, I really wish I had their life. There's probably something going on in their life that you wouldn't want to deal with. Not every single thing in their life is good. You're just seeing the highlights of their life. People are like, I want to be like you. And I'm like, nah, be yourself. Don't try to be like me. Try to be the best version of yourself.
The only problems you're going to want to have are your own problems. You're not going to want to have anyone else's problems. So it sounds like you value truth, freedom. That's amazing. And same. Like, I just felt so restricted growing up that I value that now so much, you know?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I grew up with the rules of, like, you need to pray, you need to read your Bible every day. And so now I'm like, I hate putting rules on people. I don't want to follow rules. I'm not going to make, like, my client follow a bunch of weird rules. I'll give you advice. I'll tell you, like, what steps you want to take if you ask for that, sure, but, like, I'm not God. So you can go against my advice, and it's okay. I'm not going to be mad at you for it. It's your life at the end of the day.
Exactly. I'll break my own rules. Like, so
Break my own rules all the time.
I'm gonna wrap it up now because I know it's been a long time. Thank you so much for like chatting with me, and I actually want to low-key keep talking, and I always do this. But I have to stop myself at some point because I always want to keep talking to the people once I'm on.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. You just want to keep talking. It's fun.
I'm a yapper, so.
Me too. Wait, I didn't ask you. Like, what's your sign? Like, what's your astrology?
Okay, so I'm Aquarius, but I changed my birthday. Girl, every question you ask is gonna be a whole thing. I changed my birthday because I don't like having a winter birthday. So, like, my chosen birthday, I would technically be a Leo. People are like, oh my gosh, you're such a Leo. But I'm actually an Aquarius.
Not you doing the opposite sister sign.
I celebrate my half birthday because my birthday sucks every year, and I was like, you know what? Like, I feel like hot girls cry on their birthday, you know? And so
Yeah,
I
they
cry
do.
every birthday. Everything that could go wrong goes wrong on my birthday every year. So I was like, fuck this. I just celebrate my half birthday now, and that's just my real birthday celebration. Some people think I'm a Leo. Some people think I'm an Aquarius. I'm gonna let people just guess, and they can just whatever they feel called to.
To be fair, I would have said fire or air sign. So
I'm an Aries rising, so that's probably why you picked up on the fire sign a bit. There's not a lot of Aquariuses. We're very rare. There's not a lot of Aquarius women, but we're chill. We're a bit weird. We're a bit out there.